Hello, everyone. Once again, it is Friday. It is 12 o'clock. We know what that means. Even after a heat wave, we're still coming live for the Get Hired Live here on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on X. We're going on many different platforms now to try and get the message out to as many people as possible. It is not one that we need to stop doing because we want to constantly be going out there and making sure that we get the message out for everybody who is really, really struggling out there in this difficult world of trying to find a new position. We see it. I don't know about you, but I have been seeing so much online right now of how many people are really struggling to find work. I don't know whether you've been seeing that, whether you're on TikTok, YouTube, whatever. There are so many different messages and things that you're seeing of people who are struggling to get a job, of people who are applying for roles. Sometimes you hear, I've applied for 100, 200, 300, 500, so many, even thousands, and still struggling. And that's what this session is about. It's about how to try and change up that whole strategy, how to try and do something that really makes it different for you so you can really help. Nena, great to see you as ever. Still loving the content. I want to see more of that singing coming on. It would be really good to see it. Philip, great to see you. Exactly, it is crackerjack out there. That's definitely aging us a little bit. It is hot. Is it really hot? Still hot down there? I'm afraid up in the Yorkshire Dales, it's got cold again. We've had rain. We've got cold wind. It's not even the 20s anymore. So I'm sorry if you are sweltering anywhere in somewhere in Europe, but it is. I'm afraid. It's a lot cooler here where we are as well. As ever, with all of you, make sure that you introduce yourselves, say hello, and let us know whereabouts in the world that you are. David, good to see you as well. Very good afternoon to you. I hope that it's remaining cool where you are as well. Foxy, always good. Yeah, AC. There's always one, isn't there? There's always one that's got a bit of air conditioning, a bit of technology to make life a little bit easier for you. I still haven't invested in that, because I've moved to Yorkshire. You don't need AC. You just open the window and the AC comes flying through. It's back to normal over here. So hopefully it'll come to you quite soon as well. It has made life a little bit more tricky. And indeed, even if you are searching right now, it is even more tricky. And that's really sort of the whole ethos of what we're going to be looking at today. So today we're going to be specifically looking at that what is known as that hidden job market. It is sort of the area that gets talked about an awful lot, and people get really confused about, well, what exactly is this? Where are these hidden jobs? Where can I start finding them? And we'll go through a little bit today is why this exists, and how, more critically, how you can actually get access to that, how you can start to go and see them as well. And it's the reason for that. And I guess if we take a sort of a step backward, is why this is needed is because the jobs market feels just so broken at the moment. I mentioned about it. I don't know about you, but there's a lot about graduates online that you see on the news, that I think that either the mainstream media and here in the UK is really picking up on this. I know it ends up getting a bit political, but that's probably what they're doing, that they're finding these different people who are really struggling, and a lot of graduates are struggling. I think it's something like over 1 million in the UK are struggling to find work. Andrea, hi, great to see you. And also from Kent as well. Natalie, good to see you from London. 23 degrees, it's getting better. That's even better. That is really good. I'm pleased to hear it's doing well. Hello from Hertfordshire, great part of the world as well. Always good to see you. And indeed, where we're sort of finding is that, and the interesting bit is that we can see it on mainstream media. The message that we have been talking about for over a year, that message that I consistently say to everybody, that is, if you are mass applying, if you are just have an application only strategy, you are in it for the long haul. You're going to be there for a long, long time to try and find something. Now, I'm not, as some people say, I'm not advocating you say you never apply for a job ever again. You don't need to do that. We're going to do something else. Clearly, you're going to need to strategically apply. And at some point, no matter what conversation you're having with someone, you're going to need to apply. But what you don't need to be doing is spending your entire time looking at jobs, firing off CVs and sending it on, and then forgetting about it. That is a strategy that is not working and is clearly not working. This is the problem we have. And that has actually promoted even more a rise in the hidden jobs market. There are even more hidden jobs there that are not ever getting to be posted. You're never going to get access to them. And the size of that part of the market can be anything up to 70% of the market is actually jobs that never get posted to a job board, never see the light of day. They are jobs that just get happening through conversation, through networking. Those are the ones that we need to do it. Joe, good to see you from Henley. Has Henley Regatta started yet? It must be coming to that time soon. Hi, Karen from Salem, Massachusetts. I know there were a few trials taking place in Salem many years ago. Hopefully they've stopped doing that there now as well. Foxy, I think it was about a year ago that you started these happy. It probably was. Do you know what? You're probably doing it better than I. I don't know when my first LinkedIn Live was. Maybe we should look at that. I'm going to check that now after this session. I'm going to check because it probably was around about a year ago that we first started. Maybe a little bit later, but I think it probably was. And that's really much part of that strategy that we can look at of how you start getting yourself out there. But before we do that, what do we think the hidden job market is? Has anyone on the call, have you ever got a job previously where you haven't actually applied for it in your career? Has it ever happened to you where you might have had a conversation with a friend and they said, "Oh, do you know what? We're looking. I'll put you in touch with the boss, the manager, the director, whoever it might be. Have a conversation with them. You have a chat with them. You talk to them, and then before you know it, they've offered you a job, and there it is. You never applied for it. It was just a conversation. Has that ever happened to you? Stick it in the comments. Let us know if you've been familiar with that, if that's something that's actually happened. And that is a prime example of the hidden jobs market. And what they are exactly that. These are jobs where a company might be looking and saying, you know what, we really need to consider taking on a new person. We're struggling in this area, or we need a new salesperson. We're suffering with our marketing. We need to really hit social media. We need to do that. Let's just think about it. Oh, well, we're going to need to work out the costs of it. And do we really need to do it? Maybe we might want to reorganize the team. All of those things happening. And the hidden jobs market is exactly that. When at that point, you are connecting with those people and having conversations with them and just happen to be the salesperson, the marketing person, etc., who happens to think, I can solve that problem for them. And the company will look at it and think, they're perfect for this role. Applying for jobs can sometimes become a job in itself. I mean, it absolutely is. I often have said in the past, looking for a new job is 100% it's a job in itself. And applying for a job is almost like having two jobs at once. And it's probably two jobs at once with the worst boss in the world, because they never communicate back to you. They never come back to you with any kind of feedback or any information. And you're constantly sending out more and more communications one way, but getting nothing back. Pauline, hi, great to see you as well. I hope you're well. Sometimes we don't realize that jobs that pop up as posts in our LinkedIn timelines are part of the hidden market. Absolutely right. There are often happens and examples of where companies will talk about in their own content. Quite often, a director, a leader, a team member will talk about some of the challenges that they're facing, a project that they're doing, something that they had before. And what they're alluding to is the fact that they've got challenges they need solving. They don't know what's going on with it. They need somebody to help them with that. These are all prime examples of where it is that you need to look for these hidden job markets. Foxy, I applied for a role that didn't come off last year, but they approached me a few months ago about another one. Exactly. That's another prime example of where you're having a hidden job, where you were involved before, they liked you, identified you as a really good, strong candidate, and then they thought, right, okay, we're going to come back to that person. We've got another role that's come on. Makes absolute sense for us to speak to them. You've made yourself visible, obviously, by, in this case, you applied for a role and you went for an interview for it, or maybe not, I don't know. That was the visibility that you created. And then they've pipelined you, remembered you, thought, yes, we need to go back and speak to that person again. And when another role came up, it made sense for them to go back to you and then to speak and say, right, okay, look, how do we get this on board? How do we get this person here as well? That's another classic example of it. Joe, yes, a headhunter was working on loads of jobs for an employer, but not the job that I actually got. Exactly. Quite often. And that's another way. And you bring up here, Joe, another great way that you can get access to it. A lot of headhunters, search firms, recruitment companies will often work on roles that are never advertised as well. They may well be confidential. They may well be that. They may be that the employer themselves doesn't want to let that know for lots of reasons, either for commercial reasons, either because there's an incumbent already in place and they're going to look to replace for one reason or another. They might be taking early retirement. They might be leaving. They might be on a personal improvement plan. They might be being exited from the business. There's lots of different reasons why that might happen. But they're not going to post them there. And if you're only relying on just applying, you're missing those opportunities. So it's not just quite as simple as, look, I just need to search for a job and that's what I need to do. And often when I hear and watch these heartbreaking stories from graduates who are really struggling to find work, and all they talk about is how many applications they had, it's like I want to sort of scream back at the telly this, look, there are other ways you can do it. It's still going to be tough, absolutely. But there are other avenues you can get to try and get access to things. David, all of my previous contracts were through contacts and direct approaches. So many people say that. The same for myself. I cannot actually remember the last time I directly applied for a role and got hired through an application. It's always been through referrals. It's always been through networking. It's always been through creating conversations for myself for, at least the last 20, 30 years. That's how that tends to work. And you tend to get a much better communication, a much better fit when you actually have it like that. It's such a better way of doing it. So it's really important to start looking to see where it is. Andrea, strategy is key. Sometimes you get distracted, but that can be positive too. Opportunity you didn't expect can come from those conversations. I've had success this way, as have a lot of people I work with. I mean, absolutely, Andrea. It's creating these conversations is the way that we can absolutely get access to it, and that's sort of where we can have those sort of best opportunities that we can create. And then, of course, there are other things out there. My favorite topic of Easy Apply on LinkedIn, which is another way that feeds into this application-only strategy of not working and making it so bad of having so many different ones. And there's two different aspects to Easy Apply that can create some of these problems and issues that you have in recruiting. When it first came out, Easy Apply was a fantastic idea because this was at a time when you had jobs that were posted up, you could easily apply. It made it really simple to do. You probably didn't need to make more than 10, 20 applications without starting to get a number of interviews coming through and then be hired. So it wasn't an issue. It was there to solve a bit of a problem and make life really easier and start driving people more through the LinkedIn portal itself. But what Easy Apply has ended up becoming is an opportunity for so many candidates just to think, I'm just going to press the button, press the button, press the button, press the button. I can sit here for 2 hours and make 100 applications, and all I'm doing is just pressing a button. I'm not really doing anything. And meanwhile, you think I've achieved something because I've applied for 100 jobs. I can go off and relax now. God, that was a hard day's work, but I've applied for lots and lots of jobs. And then meanwhile, the recruiters themselves suddenly become overwhelmed with hundreds, if not thousands of applications, making everything so difficult to achieve. Philip, looking for a job is easy. It's like riding a bike, except the bike is on fire, you are on fire, and everything is on fire, and you're in hell. Landing a job, is just a little bit harder than that. What a fantastic analogy. And, it can feel like that. Absolutely can feel like that for far too many people. And that's what Easy Apply is definitely feeding into. One of the biggest pain points for candidates is the fact they get ghosted, and Easy Apply feeds into that. And let me explain why. If you are connected with LinkedIn, so the way that a lot of these employers will work, especially the larger ones, is they will have their ATS system, whether it's Workday, Greenhouse, etc. They will have that linked directly into LinkedIn. Their jobs will be automatically posted. You apply on the job portal in LinkedIn. It automatically takes it into the ATS. Hopefully, if they've set up their ATS system correctly, you'll get automated responses coming through. If they're particularly good and you're moving through the process, you'll get updates coming through. The recruiter can manage your application a lot easier. So it might still be an automated response, but at least you'll get some kind of response. If they haven't set that link up and you see Easy Apply, what they've actually done is they've just put a manual posting up on LinkedIn. That means your application just goes straight into a LinkedIn project. That's where it'll go. And quite often they will not have that functionality to be able to do automatic messaging back out of it. So that's why, and I've seen too many instances where there are manual LinkedIn posts that have been put up with Easy Apply attached to that. You will have hundreds, if not thousands, of applications there. There is no way that a recruiter is going to go through every single one of those and write a quick message to say, thank you very much for applying. Here's what it is. So if you ever have applied for a role using Easy Apply through that and have nothing, not even an acknowledgement, that is the most likely explanation it is. Or they have actually got it linked to their ATS and they've just got zero comms automatically set up, no auto messaging, which is quite rare, but they haven't even done that. But it's most likely the fact that it's been done manually and they're just not physically doing it. And that's feeding into this whole broken recruitment system. And that's why it's failing so many candidates right now. Nena, I can see here. So a recruiter called me this morning and I was rather skeptical as I felt it was a scam. He couldn't tell what job board he found me on. I put the phone down on him and he since emailed. Well, it could have been a scam. Who knows? But quite often with the recruiter, it depends where he came from. But, you know, he might well have just found you on LinkedIn, but he obviously has managed to get your details somehow. Not sure how he's managed to do that. It can be often that they get it from strange circumstances. And it's a shame, unfortunately. There are quite a few scams taking place out there at the moment, and you do have to be wary of that. And I think it's absolutely important to do it. I read something this morning on ft.com about uni graduates and their issues with finding a job career after studying. Exactly. It's appearing everywhere, you know, and the mainstream media, not just on TV, but also in print, is starting to pick up this and to realize that we have a major problem here, a real major problem. So how do we get out of it? So what can you do to change that? And again, there are ways that we can do it. And it's what we've been talking about for a year. If it is the year's anniversary, Foxy, it might well be the year's anniversary, but we've been talking consistently about it. It's about creating visibility. If you are not seen in the job market, then you're not going to get an interview, let alone get hired. So you've got to try and create visibility. And incredibly, in 2026, there are a number of platforms that can create that visibility. And the best one, provided that you're in, especially for white collar type roles, but any kind of office, commercial type of role, LinkedIn is your go-to platform to be able to do that. So my advice to everybody, if you're looking for a job, you go all in on LinkedIn. That is the place where you can actually make a difference, because that's where you're going to start getting visibility. However, there are caveats to it, because of course, nothing's easy in life, is it? There's always going to be one or two. And getting noticed on LinkedIn is no different. If you think it is, I'm not selling the dream that you just get there, get on LinkedIn and everything's going to be hunky-dory, wonderful. I will, within 2 days, I've got a viral post. Everybody's seen me. I'm getting offers flooding through the door. No, that's not going to happen. But what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to start getting active. And if you haven't started doing that, then right now is the best opportunity to do it. And if you can't do it right now, then maybe 5 minutes later, you can start doing it. Maybe at the end of this Get Hired Live, that's probably the best time. So don't leave yet. Philip, I saw a post recently where a recruiter posted a role and received over 300 applications in the first hour. That happens so much. In a lot of my clients, the same thing is happening as well. It can, dependent on the role and dependent on where it is happening a lot. Now, there's a double-edged sword there. One is that you tend to get a large proportion of them are just not relevant for the role at all. So you have to filter through that. But also what you're getting for one job post is you will have, out of those 300, at least 10% of them are going to be people who are actually eminently qualified to do the job. 30 people, 30 CVs who are really qualified to do the job in the first hour that you have there. And that's why so many of them even will have that frustration to say, I've seen a job, I've applied for a job, I'm a perfect fit for it, but I've been rejected. How come I've been rejected when I'm a perfect fit? Unfortunately, you've probably been rejected because there were 29 other people who were also a perfect fit, and they can't take everybody to interview. They're not going to be able to interview everyone. So what you've got to do is give yourself a competitive edge. That's what you've got to try and do, is to really make sure that you can do something different. I can see James has given an important update. Breaking news has come through. 4th of July was our first one. Independence Day. How relevant was that? 4th of July. So we're nearly there. We're nearly a year away. But that in itself is part of what we can all do. I put a post up this morning talking about the journey that we've been going on, because it's just a little over a year that I started on this content journey. And it was about a year ago in February. It was the beginning of February in 2025, where I had made that determination that I need to get on LinkedIn. I need to start promoting myself. I need to get myself branded. I need to get something out there. But what do I do? Where do I start? And my overall driver was, when I was asked, why do you want to do that? I want to try and help as many people as I can do find a job, because I know myself how difficult it is to do it. And if all they're going to do is just apply for jobs only, they're going to struggle. There are different ways of doing it and more effective ways of doing it. So that's why I started my content journey, to try and help other people, to try and inform, to try and help educate, to try and give a benefit of my experience, of my life experience, my work experience, of going through the same things, of seeing tens of thousands of candidates, of hiring tens of thousands of people in lots of different countries around the world. How do I do that? And I can assure you, and this is what we have to do, is start getting onto LinkedIn. I talk about the 3 key things you've got to do. You've got to post, comment, and engage. And if you can remember those 3 things, that will help you through the whole strategy that you go through it. Now, clearly there are other things there to do, but essentially to try and promote yourself and to get there, that's what you've got to do. But before you even do that, we need to be optimizing your profile. You need to make sure that your LinkedIn profile isn't just a mirror of your CV. Your LinkedIn profile is your landing page. Your LinkedIn profile should be able to tell anyone coming onto it exactly what problem you solve, exactly what skills you've got, exactly what value you can provide immediately. They can see it super, super easily. And if they're doing that, that's when they'll start promoting more things, start to engage with you. But the only way you can drag people to come and have a look at your profile is by putting yourself out there. And I know that can feel scary. Come the 1st of February last year, I can assure you, I sat there in front of my laptop thinking, what on earth am I going to put up here? What am I going to say? Why should I say it? I had all those voices there that will sit there and tell you why you shouldn't be doing it. Who are you to do it? Nobody's interested in what you've got to say. You're going to have lots of people saying no. They're going to be judging you. And you just have to put all of that to one side and just think, do you know what? I'm just going to go out and start speaking to people and do it authentically from my position and start informing people of some of the common mistakes that happen and how to solve it. And that's how I started. And it's just grown from there. And I made sure that I had certain rules that I were going to do. The first one was consistency. If you are consistent in your approach, people then start to build trust with you. They start to understand you. They start to want to hear from you. I can see, I'm going to use Nena as another example. However, I don't think she's quite done the 500-day program, but 100 days in a row, consistently posting, you can do it. Absolutely can do it. And there was a real mixture with Nena's. And if you haven't seen it, go on to Nena's profile, go and have a look through past posts, see her style. You get a real good sense of who she is, what her expertise are, what her character is, it comes through. And it's entertaining, it's interesting, it's informative, it's all of those things. And that's where you've got to have the sweet spot to try and get more and more visibility from that side. From Foxy as well, who I remember from, I think you were one of the first one. I think you definitely came on the 4th of July, Foxy. I might be wrong, but I think you were here right from the get-go as well, right on the first one. And I remember well having those discussions where you were putting comments. We were talking about putting yourself out there, posting. And I remember you saying, yeah, but I'm not really extroverted. I'm a bit more of an introvert. I can't put myself out there. It's not something I like to do. I can absolutely remember that. And look at Foxy now. This is almost, yeah, this is what it is. It comes down to the weekly plug for Foxy's Lab on YouTube. Go and have a look at it. Go and see where it is and see how he's managed to build this YouTube account, and how you've managed to really grow this, grow your subscribers, grow the amount of visitors that you're getting to that. It's incredible. And that just shows what you can achieve when you actually put yourself out of a little bit out of your comfort zone and start to deliver it and ignore all the naysayers that take place. And that's what's really important. Exactly. I'm still doing 500 days. I'm on day 40. Amazing. I love it. I absolutely love it. And it's such a fantastic thing to see. So that's what you've got to look at. And remember, when I'm saying post, comment, engage, those are the 3 key elements that will really help drive that. Posting content is the most scary. That's the thing that you really fear about. If you are really fearful as to where to start and you've not started at all, then go straight to number 2, comment. Commenting is actually sort of the easiest thing to do. You're all doing it now on here. You're all on LinkedIn commenting. And you're right there right now, putting insightful comments, asking questions, putting things in there. It comes onto my profile as well. The comments are always going to be there. People going onto your profile can see who you've commented on and what you've been commenting on. That's how the system works. And I bet you found that a lot easier than creating a post, because it doesn't feel like one. But every single comment you do is a little micro post. So it's something that can really be seen. And if you find your target audience and you go and see the content that they've got, the kind of people you want to work for, the kind of companies you want to work for, and you start commenting there and starting to engage insightfully, putting some value in, not negative, but positive, absolutely, you will drive traffic to your profile and you will start to increase your credibility. All the things that you want to do if you're looking for a job is that. When you're going for an interview, that's exactly what you're doing. Essentially, what LinkedIn is doing all the things that you do in an interview process, where you're demonstrating your value, you're demonstrating your skill, you're showing your character. You're doing that in real time before the interview even takes place. People start to get to know you. And that's where you make a difference. So that's why it's so important. But how does that help with getting the hidden job market? Where that helps is that's when, if you are commenting on your target audience, if you are posting relevant information, interesting skills, interesting insight, how you solve problems, common issues that happen in your industry, you're starting to get the attention of people who you want to go and work for. And they will look to think, I have this problem. I have seen this person who's got that. Let's go and have a look at their profile and see. And they'll either directly message you, or, which is why it's really important to look through your profile views, you can do follow-ups with them. And I think that's really important as well. Pauline, I'm an introvert, but I have a framework on my visibility on LinkedIn and the wider AI governance community. I was invited to speak at Cambridge Wireless last month. Now that's out of my comfort. I bet that's out of your comfort zone. But look, we're all sort of there. Putting myself out there the same way. I know I don't know whether people might assume I'm more extroverted than introverted, but I talk. So I guess I quite like talking. I've probably always quite liked that. But putting myself out there on a LinkedIn Live, for instance, when I first did that on the 4th of July, that was scary. Absolutely scary to going live and thinking, how am I going to talk for 45 minutes to an hour about all of these subjects? Yes, I sort of know all of that, but everyone's going to be judging me. who am I to be saying all of that? Absolutely, that can happen. But I don't even think about it twice now, and I think it's a great community that we have built up, um, including the Get Hired community. Which, if you are not on there, please make sure you do. James will add that into the comments as well. Come and join into the community. We have hundreds of members now who are there. It's completely free. It provides more and more information there to try and help, and that's something that I think is really important to do. And if you have a really good mission and you know that that's what you're trying to solve, that helps so much in what you try to do. Philip, 100 days posting done. Congratulations, well done. It's an interesting exercise and potentially takes you down the path as a content creator, but it's just a way of selling yourself. The analogy of LinkedIn profile is your shop window is valid, but you really need to have new things to attract potential customers or jobs. And that's a really good point, Philip. You do. Absolutely right. And that's probably one of the toughest things you have. I'm sure you found that in your 100 days of posting. How on earth do you come up with all of those different ideas? And I get asked that a lot from a lot of people. And I guess I do have a little bit of a mind where I guess I'm relatively creative and I have lots of ideas and lots of things come down. I make sure I write them all down digitally, but I write them all down. But also, AI is your friend. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, or any of the other ones. Use them. The caveat here is do not just cut and paste and put it straight in there. Make sure you get good at AI. Make sure you prompt it well, but ask it for ideas. Ask it to give you a list of ideas. Make sure it knows who you are, what your market is, what the kind of things you're interested in. Teach it as much as it can about you. And the more that you do that, the more it will give you really relevant information for it. So get a real good list of things that you can have. And then absolutely, it can help you create some of those posts, but absolutely make sure you don't just cut and paste it and do that, because for two reasons. One, I think people notice it. And I think if it is too obviously not you, and it's just been written straight by AI, people tend to react against it. I completely ignore anyone that ever puts a comment about it and say, this is an AI post or something like that, which we all get. We'll all get those kind of comments. I don't care what anybody says. If they want to be negative on it, they let them be negative. I know what I do is I get prompted by AI. I let AI help me, but majority of it is all me. I make sure I personalize it. Sometimes I do write completely from scratch, especially if it's something that's really meaningful to me. And I think it's just easier for me just to write and just to say what I need to say. But I will heavily edit anything that I get from any AI tool that comes through. And I make sure that everybody does that. But use that. It is such a powerful tool and it will really help you. The second point I want to do is, Philip, where you mentioned about it brings you into being a content creator. And it's an interesting point because I think being a content creator is sort of seen as a bit of an insult, as if that's not something that you should be doing. You shouldn't be a content creator. Don't let that negativity override your ability to be able to put yourself out there. Yes, absolutely. What you're doing is selling yourself. But again, there's lots of connotations that people have to that. What you're doing is creating visibility, and you're doing it in a way where you're not walking up and down the high street with a sandwich board on, or jumping up and down, or doing a silly dance on TikTok. That's a different type of content creation. That's sometimes what people think of that. Look, what you're doing is you're sharing your expertise, you're sharing your value. You are giving more than you're taking, and use that principle when you're trying to get out there, because the more that you give out to people, the more that you help people, the more something will come back to you. And that might be some kind of a bit of karma, but I think in life that is true. And I think as human beings, we like that. We don't tend to like to be overly direct sold. None of us do. None of us like it. If I don't know about you, but if my phone rings, the first thing I do, like Nena had with that recruiter, is you are immediately on guard. You think, hang on a minute, I'm going to be conned. I'm being sold to. I don't want to have that. And it's sort of the same online as well. So don't feel like you're having to try and sell something. Quite often I see, especially with job seekers, where I don't know whether you've seen this, where you see a lot of posts of people who are looking, and they then become quite negative, and just purely all they're posting about is their job search, which is fine to share some of that. But how does that help a future employer, other than thinking this person is desperate for a new job, which they probably are? But for the employer, they're thinking, well, they're just trying to push another CV on. I'm getting loads of them. I'm just getting CVs sent to me all the time, and I'm overwhelmed. You're not differentiating. So it's fine to talk about it occasionally, but if you are, you've got to have the principle that 80% of your content has got to be about giving value, talking about the fields of expertise that you have, your industry, the problems you solve, the value that you provide, not just 80% I'm searching for a job and here's the trials and tribulations of me searching for a job. It might be interesting. And yes, absolutely, there are some posts out there that will get hundreds of engagements, thousands of engagements, millions of impressions about that. But they're all from other people who are sharing the same thing. And it might make you feel good that that happens. But what you're not going to do is actually get the kind of people you need to be looking at it. If you want to have access to the hidden job market, if you are looking for a job, then what you've got to be showing is you've got to be showing that skill and value to people and the insight that you've got about that industry. You've got to be the expert in your industry, not the expert in job searching. Well, unless, of course, you're selling job searching services, then maybe you might. Pauline, ask AI for news articles in the last 24 hours. Great idea. That is actually a really good idea as well. Really good one, Pauline. You need to make sure you prompt well because it doesn't know dates. Then I go from there. I did an article on the papal document on AI governance by stripping out the technology. It went viral. Fantastic. And that's a great example. And exactly that. I think that's a really good piece of advice there, Pauline. Using AI like that to be able to share that expertise, I think is super, super important to do. Foxy, I think content creator will be the main job to survive AI. It might well be. That is true. I know. I'm fascinated. I don't know about you. I am fascinated by all the conversations about AI. It seems to be the in thing to try and work out which job is going to survive it and which one isn't. It might well do. 10 to 15 years, we'll see a shift to most jobs being content creation of some kind. I think absolutely it is going to be a real differentiator going forward. The more human you are and authentic you are, rather than just AI and robotic, that's a differentiator. And that's what people want to see. No matter what everyone says about AI, look, it's not going to be replacing every single job on the planet, and you're never going to be working again. And we're all on universal basic income, and we're just going to sit there and the robots are going to take over and and round us all up into a prison. That bit's not going to happen. What is going to be happening is it's going to be accelerating absolutely our capability. It is the internet revolution times a million. It's just going a lot quicker. And I think that's the bit that's surprising everyone, is quite how quickly it is all going. And like everything, there will be the doomsayers, the doom mongers and everything else. But absolutely, you still have that opportunity to make a difference yourself. I think it's really interesting that talking about the content creation there as well being one. So how do we then take it from taking this and then really finding out how you can find that and get access to it? And I want to talk about a couple of different things before we get to the end, because as ever, we're running out of time. Time seems to fly when we're on this. It flies so much that Foxy even thought we started doing the LinkedIn Lives earlier than we actually did, a month or two earlier. It seems like it's been that long, but maybe not. Look, there's a couple of different things I want to mention. First of all, it's not just about hiring managers. I talk a lot about that, of the business seeing you and finding you, because that absolutely is important. And that gives you a massive advantage. I know as a recruiter that from my experience, that what will happen if I'm certain, and even this is before we had the mass applications and everything else, but if we had applications coming through from really, really good, and I'm managing that process with the hiring manager, I've got all of the different ones coming, I'm doing the initial screens, I've got some people here, and then suddenly the hiring manager says to me, Nigel, by the way, I've got this person, I've seen them, I really like them, I want to see them, I'm going to have them for interview, they haven't applied yet, but here's their CV, could you reach out to them, get them to apply and do all of this kind of stuff and do that, but I really want them, just book the interview. I'm not going to say no to them because that's what the hiring manager wants. They've pre-qualified them already, and absolutely I will. And then, yes, whatever governance we need to do to make sure that they're in the system and everything else, I'll reach out to them, speak to them. But guess where they used to find them? They found those person from their own networking, from going online, from someone who's been referred to them, from a conversation on LinkedIn, from seeing a post, from engaging on a comment. And that's how they've done that. And that's the real advantage. So it is absolutely a really, really good way to do it. The secondary way is from the recruiters themselves. Recruiters will find talent in very different ways moving forward. They still, obviously, a lot of them will still rely on, they post the job, they wait for people to apply, and they sit there and wait and screen through all of them. And they're starting to implement more and more AI in order to do that. But it is becoming less and less efficient. It was never particularly efficient 10 years ago, but it's become even less efficient now. The way that a lot of companies are investing in recruiters, whether it is in-house or external, is their capability to go out into the market and specifically find the skill set that they're after and invite them to come and speak to you. And where the key is that how they find it. They will use tools like LinkedIn Recruiter, which is the main tool that they will use to do that. And they will be able to get access. So it's slightly different in terms of how you get access to those tools and get seen. But what you need to be doing is optimizing your profile, making sure your keywords are in there, the kind of value that you add, the skills that you've got. Skills are so, so important to make sure you put in there, because recruiters especially will be looking for those skills. So make sure those are optimizing your LinkedIn profile. That's how you're going to start doing it. And as I always say, if you're open to work, whether you're in a job or not, make sure you have clicked on what I call the secret open to work button that recruiters can see, because they will shortlist you based on that. The second most important in that is making sure you follow the company. All the people who you are wanting to go follow the company, again, they will filter quite often on people who have either engaged with the company or follow the company. There are two really key ones. And the reason for that is that they look to see who's available to work immediately. That's always an advantage. And secondly, people who've already engaged with it. It means you've got an interest. And that, for a recruiter, will look at it and think, I'm getting someone who's a warm lead rather than completely cold and doesn't really want to have a job and I'm not really interested. We want somebody who's good to go, who's going to be passionate about the role, about us as a company. They've got interest. So make sure you do those things, and then you absolutely will. And then that final element we then have is sort of the big mistakes that people can make, and the job seekers especially. And we know what that number one is. I don't need to give you the clue. We know what the number one is just using application only strategy. If you are just applying only and doing nothing else, then you are going to be there for a long, long time unless you're incredibly lucky. And those are the people that you're seeing in the newspapers, on TV, that are saying, I've been searching for a year and a half. I've been applying for thousands of jobs and I can't get it. You need to be doing other things. And the other things that you need to be doing is making sure that you don't just apply, you make sure you engage. So you strategically apply for the roles that you want, do all the things you need to do, but you need to make sure that you are following up, you are engaging with their content. Ideally, you should be doing that before you ever apply, before the application ever takes place. Making sure that you network. Networking is not easy. And I know we've done separate ones specifically on that, but look, absolutely you need to network. And that isn't about just sending messages to people and saying, here's my CV. It's about, again, engaging informatively, give information to people, offer help, etc. That's how you should be doing that as well. The real final element in terms of one of the biggest mistakes you can do is doing what most people do on social media. Most people consume content, and we all do it to a larger or greater degree, whether it's on Instagram, TikTok, or whatever else like that. I'm sure lots of you will sit there on your phone and like I do, and you will flick through, and that's what it's engaged to do. And LinkedIn is no different. Majority of the people on there are consumers of content rather than participating. You've got to make sure that how you differentiate yourself and get hired is by participating. It's not about being a content creator. It's about just taking part. It's about posting, commenting, and engaging. And the engaging part of it is so, so important to make sure you do that as well. So look, we're coming near to the end as well. I hope that's been super useful today. We've got a lot of information in there, and I know it's scary, and I know there's a lot of things that you have to do to really get yourself out there, but start. So as ever, sometimes I like to set little challenges for people, and I think it's really good. And I reckon as soon as I say things like that, Nena's eyes will probably be rolling in her head because she doesn't like it when I set them. How about, because I think, rather than the posting, if you are struggling to post, then let's get some 10 meaningful comments, and 10 meaningful comments every day. So 10 a day for the next week, and then come back next week and tell everybody how it's gone. And by 10 meaningful comments, that's a minimum. It's not that I've reached my 10 today and then that's all. And maybe even see how you can do it in a way that when you're commenting on a thread, comment in a way that can almost encourage conversation. Keep it positive, keep it value-led, insightful, but also questioning, because of how you can try and create that. And it doesn't need to be really, really super long, but make sure it's not great, congratulations, brilliant. None of those ones. We can't put those ones in. We've got to put something else into it. So 10 meaningful comments every day for the next week. Come back here next week. Let us know how that goes, and we can work on that. If you're doing commenting already now, absolutely, then get some posts out. Get a post one a day for a week, not 100 days, just 1 week. Just try one a day and go onto your AI, create the list. That'll give you the ideas. It'll help you with that. So start posting as well as doing that. Next week, we're going to have some more ones. I'm going to be looking, as ever. Yeah, I know exactly, Nana. I know your eyes are rolling. I know that I know you too well by now that I know as soon as I mention any of those kind of challenges, that will happen. But look, absolutely. Next week, we're going to be looking in more depth at content and content creation. I think it's really important because I know that that's something that a lot of people fear. I know how valuable that is and how much that can make a massive difference to you. But I know also how difficult it is to start getting started, especially when you're trying to look for a job as well. It's fine when you're trying to get, you're selling your services and you're trying to do that and you're putting all yourself out there. It seems sort of different when you're job searching. You almost have that bit when you're job searching, especially the longer it takes, the more embarrassed you start feeling, the more stressed you start feeling. And sometimes when that happens, it's natural that we sort of want to hide away. We don't want to sort of tell anyone. It's almost seen like it's embarrassing that I've not got a job and I'm trying to find one. I've been out of work for 3 months now. And your natural inclination is just to complain about that and say to everybody that, and that's what it is. And who are you to then start talking about insightfully about the industry you're in because you're out of work? And if you really knew that much, well, why didn't you have a job? You've got to put all of those to one side. And it's really important to make sure that you have that confidence in yourself to be able to promote and show people the skill sets that you've got. And I know how difficult that is. So maybe next week, if you've got any of you are prepared to come on here and share your profile and have a look at some of your content, and we can go through some of that and look at some ideas of what we could do to really try and help in terms of putting something together. So feel free to be a guinea pig volunteer. You will get a mug. We're still waiting for the brand new mugs. I'm sorry, Nena and Foxy, we're getting new mugs. And so you'll have to get maybe another, you could have a longevity mug. We should do one for the 4th of July as a celebratory one, but we're getting some new ones. They are the post-comment engage mugs that we're having. So a little bit of messaging that we're putting on there for Get Hired. I hope you've enjoyed the session today. Thank you all so much once again for coming along. It's always great to see you all. And thank you for all your comments. It's always interesting to see how everyone's going. Best of luck in your job search if you are searching. I hope it goes well. Have an amazing weekend wherever you are. And we will see you same time next week. Enjoy then, and we'll see you then. Take care.